What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Survivor Now podcast. We are here to recap episode 8 of Survivor Game Changers. Yes, we missed last week, but we are back, baby, in the podcasting seat. My name is Randy, and today I'm joined by my usual guests. I got Will, I got Kara. Hello, everybody. How are we doing? Round of applause for you. Yes. I was late on the applause. Will, I'll start with you, man. How are we doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. Another round of applause. Thank you.
I forgot. I knew I was going to be rusty. I was like, damn, I nailed that intro.
Yeah, that was nailed all right. Nailed like a hammer. Let me tell you, it's what my grandfather used to say. No, I'm doing good. I just came back from dinner. My family insisted on going to my place of work for dinner, so I just can never leave Outback Steakhouse. But, you know, other than that, I'm chilling. Fun day for Survivor, fun day for Big Brother. Shout out to anyone watching the current season. It's been hectic as heck. But other than that, doing good. And what about you, Carrie? You doing good? You hanging in there?
You know, doing good. Just you know how the week is after you're on vacation. You come back to real life, adjusting. Yeah. So
and we also know the weeks when you're not on vacation and you're watching your friend go on vacation and then watching them come back from vacation. You're like, dang.
So much chatting about vacation. Like, I don't know what you guys are talking about.
It's called a social game, Randy.
I am stuck in Indiana right now. My vacation is across the street to the local Taco Bell. That's my vacation. But
that doesn't sound so bad.
Yeah, don't diss.
Honestly, could be worse. Like, I don't even want to say recovering. I am a Taco Bell addict. I will just say that. Like, I'm talking like this small little tangent before we get into Survivor chat. I'm talking like I probably go to Taco Bell like 3-4 times a week. I'm not gonna lie.
I respect it.
Okay.
You get a Baja Blast.
Yeah, I was gonna say like
what's your order?
There's a Taco Bell like kind of close to my work, and so whenever my friend picks me up, he's always like, "Well, are you hungry? Do you want food?" I'm like, "Can we go to Taco Bell?" And he's like, "Will, stop getting Taco Bell."
It's worth it. And Kara, I heard you say what is my order, or ask what my order is. Mm-hmm. It's shameful. It's very. I spend like $20. It's the Nacho Bel Grande meal, with the taco with the Baja Blast. But I also kind of eat like a child, so I get meat and cheese only on everything. And then I get 2 5-layer burritos, also just meat and cheese only. So it's basically only like a 3-layer burrito because you have shredded cheese, the like nacho cheese, and then meat. And that's pretty much my order. And then if I'm feeling a little extra, spicy, I'll get the Cinnabon Delights and I'll just eat those.
When you're feeling spicy, you get the sweetest thing there.
I couldn't think of the right word. I was like, if I'm feeling a little extra
is an apt word. If you have a hankering for it with their sweet tooth. No, I get the Crunch Wrap with a Baja Blast, and that's it. So I'm a functioning member of society, and that's what I learned that Randy wasn't.
Wow. Okay, Kara, what is your order to round out the Taco Bell talk?
Always a Baja Blast and the cheesy gordita crunch. I used to like it when they had the fiery Dorito shell. I loved that with it, but so good. It's still good. I love the soft and the hard shell.
That was all right. Well, we're just going to stop the podcast. I'm going to get Taco Bell right now. Actually,
I can see you guys next week.
If you're joining us, we are actually here to talk about Taco Bell today. No, I'm kidding. Yeah. Okay, that's the end of the Taco Bell joke. We did miss a week. I'm sure that you noticed. We do apologize. You guys know we prefer to stay on schedule. There was multiple stuff going on. Kara was on vacation. I was in the middle of a move, so my mind was just not on Survivor whatsoever. And I don't know what Will was doing. Will was in Middle Earth or something. I don't know.
I was hanging out, man. I'm just chilling.
Will almost did the podcast by himself.
I should have pushed for that. I should be like, Randy, it would have been the swaggiest Survivor Now podcasts we've ever done. It would have rivaled when it was just me and Abe during like 44 or 45.
Oh, go back and watch that podcast. It's great.
It's just an hour of Abe going, let me tell you something. If I was there, cameras. Got to stay on schedule. I made Netflix. And that's Abraham in most of the podcasts. Shout out to Abraham.
That's why we love Abraham. But the funny thing is we only missed 1 week. and we've already spent 5 minutes talking about Taco Bell vacations, and I'm like, we're so unhinged now. Yeah. And we'll get back on topic. I will say, if you're watching, make sure to join our live chat. Let us know what you thought about episode 8 of Survivor Game Changers. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, check out our Patreon. We have had some incredible stuff going on over there. Join one of the tiers, and if you're listening on Spotify, please leave us a rating, preferably 5 stars if you can. So let's get into this, everyone. We've got quite an episode to talk about. Just a quick little recap. Last time we were on to talk about Survivor Game Changers, we saw Ozzy get voted off. There was drama between Zeke and Andrea, and it was the merge episode. That's kind of where we saw that. Was it the merge or no? The second merge episode.
The second half of the merge episode?
Yeah, it was a 2-hour episode. Yeah. Yeah. Randy. So it's been a couple weeks. We not only witnessed Ozzy get voted off, we also saw Haley get voted off. Now it's coming back to me. See? And we had this strong 6 kind of form with the Ozzy vote, and that's where we leave off. And this episode in particular, it was really focused on the 6. And I think I got them written down right. I did take notes this week. So we have Brad, Sierra, who have worked together almost the entire season. You could throw Debbie in. You have Troyzan, who was brought in with Brad. You also have Ty, who's kind of worked with Brad all season. And then you have Sarah. That is the 6. And Will, I'll go to you first. This is the focal point of the episode before we actually get into what happened. It was all about, can we get into this 6? Because from the get-go, they looked like a pretty strong group for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they were very strong for the first 2 votes in the early part of the merge. Problem is, you know there is a number 6 to an alliance of 6, and once you get to this point in the game, I feel like it's a lot more fluid, where it's less about a game of, I have 5 people, you have 4 people, we win. It's more about, where do I stand in my group of 5 people, and do I think I could survive better if I go to the other side and join up with the 4 people to get myself into a better spot. And this is also the era of the big moves, the resumes, where at this point in Survivor, it's like everyone really cared about making these big flashy moves. And that was just kind of how it was at the time. I feel like nowadays, we're getting a lot more social players, a lot more social winners, and it's kind of changed the game. But at the time, like, that was the game. And so I think, honestly, of all eras of Survivor, right now is the worst time to be in an ironclad alliance of 6, because there's always going to be a fault. Kara, what do you think about that?
Yeah,
salami there.
I think it is like, when you're in an alliance like that, like, you always want it to work, but it really doesn't always happen like that. Like, there's always going to be someone that's going to flip, especially the person on the bottom, like we see in this episode. It's a good and bad situation to be in.
I hate to look ahead here, because I know we usually go in order of these recaps, but I want to jump ahead to Tribal Council, and it goes back to the focus on the 6. And this is something that got me thinking. So they mentioned, like, someone's got to be on the bottom of the 6. If you're on the bottom, you need to realize that, and you need to make a move now before it's too late. And then we see Troyzan, of all people, say, look, Jeff, like, with this 6, you're guaranteed final 6 if you just stay true to this group. And then obviously they fire back at Troyzan with, like, yeah, but then what? Then you have no one to make a move with. And Troyzan's kind of like, we'll focus on that when we get there. I kind of agree. Hot take. I kind of agree, because this is how I played in my season of Expedition Online.
And how did that turn out?
It turned out pretty good. I made it to the final 5. And yeah, I mean, my alliance turned on me at the end. And I get what everyone's saying. Like, there's always going to be a duo in a group of 6, or there's going to be a trio in the group of 6. But I think the risk of, like, if you flip on this big alliance and it doesn't work, you go from possibly finishing 4th or 5th to finishing 8th. And I know people are going to sit here and be like, ooh, I mean, why does it matter? If you're not first, you're last and stuff like that. It does matter. They get money based off where they finish on the show. And you make a substantially more amount of money. Yeah, thank you. You make more money if you finish 4th than you do back in 8th. So that shit does matter. And so I'm kind of on that side because that's how I played. I was one of the loudest people when it came to when our group, on my season of Expedition Online, when they started to kind of disband because people are like, oh, we got to make a move before they do and stuff like that. I was very vocal about, why don't we just get to 6? We have 10 people at this point in Survivor Game Changers. You have 11 people left. We have 10 people left in Expedition Online. Why don't we just go to 6? Why would I risk that right now? Why would anybody risk that? We could make it to 6 right now. Kara, what do you think about all that? I don't know. Like, did this ever come up on your season where you had like 5 or 6 people you were looking at? I know you're close allies, but were we in the same situation?
Yeah, going into the merge, or the rendezvous, we had a group of 6. We were we're set. We can just go to the final 6, the 6 of us, but immediately that just wasn't the case. Immediately someone wants to flip, someone flips, you vote each other out, and then that's it. And that's kind of how I ended up getting out. And then we imploded kind of. And it does make sense. Of course, that would be ideal, have a 6 go to the end. But then when you get there, it's how is the person on the bottom going to make a move against the person on the top when there's always going to be the power people in the group of the 6, and I feel the jury's going to look at the people on top and be like, okay, you did this, you got this group, you carried the people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's always that power position or the leader or the mafia boss, however you want to put it. But Will, to add on to what Kara said and then what I said, and even what Troyzan said this episode, especially in Survivor, there's kind of voting blocks. It changes every single vote almost. So that's kind of also why I was on his side a little bit with the fact, yes, you do have those power positions like Kara brought up, but you never know what's going to happen the next day. Why would I not take my chance and guarantee myself a spot in the final 5 or the final 6, however big the alliance is?
This feels like a trickle down economy, but instead of an economy, it's like a Survivor alliance where it's here's the powerful players. If you wait your turn, you'll be a power player. I think I feel like the reason why it fails is because the players realize that they can put the power in their own hands and at least make the risk early enough to where if it does backfire, they have more room to navigate. So let's say it's final 9, right? It's 4 or 5 and 4. I'm part of the 5, and I want to make a move on my alliance. I want to take out a top dog. I want to take out you, Randy. No. And so I go to Kara. I'm like, Kara, I want to I'm flipping. I want to join you. I want to vote out Randy. And then you're like, no. And then my plan fails. Something happens. Someone part of the 4 flips to the 5. Whatever. There's still a chance I might be there the next day. And if I'm there the next day, I have a lot more room because there's a lot more numbers. If I wait until the final 5 or final 6, whatever, and I realize I have no room to navigate, I gave everyone days, a week to finalize groups and create a new ironclad alliance, And so I feel I'd rather put the move in my own hands instead of hoping for the best in the future.
No, that definitely makes sense. It's a risk, right? At the end of the day, it's a risk. You can't really get on to anyone about their decision, whether that is to jump ship and take that risk, or if it is just to kind of ride the alliance to the final 6. I mean, that's what Survivor is all about. It's about surviving at the end of the day, surviving on the island, surviving the numbers, surviving elimination. That's pretty much what the show comes down to. I do think it's funny that I brought up that Troyzan was the big speaker during Tribal Council in terms of let's just make this 6 work. And out of the 6 people that we saw, Brad, Debbie, Ty, Sierra, Sarah, and Troyzan. Kara, who would you say is on the bottom?
I mean, I would say I would probably say Sarah. I feel like that's how it seemed. Yeah, I would go Sarah.
I was thinking Troyzan. If I'm looking at it like
I don't think so.
No.
The likelihood of who would work with who, and we did see this in the episode where Sierra was like, hey, you, me, and Debbie, final 3. I'm just looking at how it plays out. I don't see Brad and Sierra are like this. I think Brad and Ty are kind of like this. So then you come down to Sarah, Troyzan, and Debbie. I could see Sierra working with Sarah. That gives her someone. So then I'm down to like Debbie and Troyzan. I think they're interchangeable. I'm just talking about if the game were to shift. If these 6 were to, if these 6 stayed together until the final 6, who would kind of be left on the outs and not have a running mate? And that's why I say Troyzan, because I feel like Troyzan was just that, hey, you don't have anybody, come in and be a number with us. I don't think anyone would take a bullet for Troyzan. Like Brad, I feel like would play an idol for Sierra. Sierra would play an idol for Brad. I don't think anyone at the end of the day would be mad about losing Troyzan in the end. Will you strongly disagree?
Not strong. I think Troyzan's close to the bottom. I do think though it always comes back to Sarah being on the bottom, because I feel like Sarah, she proposed alliances with people and sub alliances. But I feel like Troyzan and Brad, they actually had a bond together. It wasn't just Troyzan was on the outs that helped, but Troyzan and Brad, they got along really well together. And I also think too that Troyzan and people on the other side don't get along. And I think that kind of isolation, puts Troyzan in better with the group of 6. I feel like Sarah doesn't really have a strong allegiance to any one player, especially not someone like Brad, because I think Brad's kind of the biggest name of that group. He's the more vocal player, the more active player. And I feel like Sarah is she's just kind of good with a lot of people. And so I think, when you're kind of a jack of all trades there socially, then you kind of gravitate towards the bottom, at least in my experience in online survivors. I don't know.
No, that's all we have to go on, right? We haven't played the game, so that's why we keep bringing up like our online experiences. Kara, you were also shaking your head no and kind of disagreeing with the fact that Troyzan was on the bottom. Is there a reason why?
Yeah, I agree like what Will said. Like he's close to the bottom, but I don't think he's on the bottom. And I think he is close with Brad. I don't see a reason why he would flip on Brad at all. I feel like that's just going to be like Troyzan's not going to leave Brad is how I feel, because who is he? He has no one else to go to. No one on the other side.
Leave Troyzan. That's what I'm saying.
I don't see it benefiting him to leave him.
Okay.
I feel like Debbie's closer to the bottom than than Troyzan.
Debbie's definitely like a wild card this season. We'll get to another wild card. Her name starts with M and rhymes with Kayla a little bit later in the show. It's a weird way I put it. I should just
I know. What was that? Never again, Randy, please.
I'm getting back. I've had like 2 weeks off or whatever. I'm getting back into the swing of things. Have some patience. So we are on day 25 now in New Era Survivor. The game would almost be over. And we have a reward challenge. So we are playing for I don't know if I wrote this down correctly. I didn't write down the name of the island, but I wrote down a seaplane trip to, they said an island, and there's going to be a buffet. Everyone's going to be pleased with something. I thought it was just kind of a fancier version of the, oh my gosh, why can I not think of that?
It's the Yasawa Islands.
Oh, what'd you say?
It's a picnic at the Yasawa Islands.
Oh,
YSAWA. Of course.
I thought there was going to be more, maybe like a cultural experience or something. It was just basically the sanctuary on a different island.
It's Survivor 30s, bro. They're not.
That's fair. No. One person will not get to compete, and that's the person that is not chosen. And that ended up being Michaela. So this, sorry, I thought it was a little bit later on in my notes. So we're going to go ahead and talk about Michaela now before we get into kind of the more memorable parts of this challenge. And I said it a couple weeks back when I said I don't think Michaela is that great of a Survivor player. And Will, you chirped back at me and was like, "Whoa, Randy, whoa."
All right, listen.
I'm beginning to think even more that she is really not a good Survivor player.
Was Tony Vlachos perfect 100% of the time? No,
I think Michaela
ran around a jungle day 2.
One of the worst?
In terms of like, yeah.
One of the worst Survivor players.
Yes.
Randy just doesn't get it.
Okay. It out there. Yes.
We're doing a new podcast. All right. Sometime the next month, I'm going to get a list of the top 50 worst U.S. Survivor players.
I'm not talking bad people. I'm talking about actually like pure game players.
Yeah, pure gameplay. 50 Survivor players that I consider to be worse than Michaela.
She has no friends, and like
she has Suri.
Suri's not even really her friend. Suri was just like
an ally.
I wouldn't even call her an ally.
A shield?
She went to Michaela and was like, "Girl, you gotta like, I like you, but you gotta stop. You gotta like bring this attitude back." And I think it lasted one day, maybe. Because she's chirping this entire time. She doesn't get picked, and she's on the sideline, like sarcastically being like, "Great job. Fantastic." Okay. This is horrible gameplay.
She was the one person not chosen. That's got her.
She also feels like she's the strongest person out there. Like every time she doesn't get chosen first or doesn't win or anything.
Actually, true. And Suri was a captain, so she could have picked her. Kind of savage.
Yeah, Suri didn't pick her. Thank you for that, because I forgot about that. But like, yeah, I just feel like if she doesn't win a challenge or if she's not picked first, she's like chirping, and like in a social game, the last thing you should be doing is rubbing shit into people's faces. Even with tonight's elimination, she starts clapping, and I'm like, "Girl, you had nothing to do with that elimination. You weren't even the target." But it wasn't even like Debbie was going after you.
But does anyone care about Michaela at the reward challenge?
No one cares. No one cares because no one even knows she's on the island. The only Michaela footage we got in this episode was them saying, "Let's keep Michaela around because she's not even in this game."
They're not watching this season. They're living on the island with me. I get your point there, brother.
She has no friends. You can't, except for Suri. Sorry. Suri likes her, but can't even pick her on her team. She's literally got not a single soul out there. Every episode that I watch, I'm like, "Oh yeah, Michaela's still here. I forgot all about that."
I remember Michaela's here because every time Michaela has done something good strategically, I'm like, "Take that, Randy." All right.
When have you said "take that, Randy"? Because she hasn't done anything strategically.
When she gave Sarah Lucina the extra vote advantage that we saw at the reward challenge. Now, if you didn't have a keen eye, you would realize as the challenge was going on, the camera kept panning over to Michaela on the sidelines with a secret vote advantage. Turns out after the reward challenge, Sarah finds us and snags it from Michaela under her feet, under her nose, metaphorically. And we find out it's an extra vote. Now, Randy, I'm going to you with this one. On the table, what do you feel about the extra vote advantage? Do you think it is a game changer-esque advantage? Do you think it's going to play out in any capacity? Because I know how this plays out.
This is looping back around to our conversation weeks ago when we argued about what we would take from Cochran, and Kara's like, "I'll take the extra vote." Yep. And I was like, "Kara, you're
going to Kara last because of that too." Right to you.
I am on record not caring about extra votes. I just don't think. Now, a steal a vote is different. I think a steal a vote.
Oh, that's what it was. Not the.
This is a steal. Yeah.
I think a steal a vote is so much different because especially when you get late in the game like this, you could flip the numbers like that. Like easily flip the numbers. I love how you said that Michaela gave it to her. Michaela was chirping so much at the bench she couldn't see a advantage right at her feet. It wasn't even hidden. It was just sitting by the bench.
That was brutal. That was killing me, seeing it right there and her not notice it that whole time. Even when they go back and they have Suri finish the course, she had all this time. How do you not look down? It was killing me.
Not a fly didn't land on your foot once. Like, that would be a way to recognize it. You'd be like, oh, shoot, there's an advantage here. Like, you're not looking at the water. I don't know. Yeah.
Can I give a counterpoint?
The last thing I'll say about Michaela, because I'm sure everyone is tired of hearing my tangent about Michaela. I got to watch her first season again. I have to watch her first season to see if it's the same thing. If I rewatch her first season, and once again, people are like, this girl's a loose cannon, like she needs to like lose her temper and stuff, I keep my statement. One of the worst social game players I've ever seen.
No, so actually people, without saying much, people clocked her early on for being a very savvy player, not a emotional player. Mm-hmm. I will say, though, how do you grab this advantage and not make it obvious to the people around you? Because I feel like at some point, especially if you're being loud, no offense to Michaela, you know, if people could easily spot you grabbing the secret advantage. So I do think there is a small world, a very small world. I don't think this is the world we're living in. A small world where grabbing the advantage might not be the optimal play, because I feel like Michaela is kind of going back not under the limelight, but she's going back under the radar. Someone that people aren't really talking about anymore, because no one's really talking about her being a loose cannon anymore. People they're forgetting about where she is in the game. And I think she's following Suri's advice pretty well, despite the reward challenge.
Kara, what's your take? We heard Will's, we heard mine, and Will, really quick, I didn't answer your question. I don't remember how this plays out, actually. Like, I think it does come into play, if I remember correctly. I just don't quite have that in my memory bank. But what side are you on with Michaela, the secret advantage? I know you said that it was infuriating watching this, and kind of what Will said about how do you grab that and not be noticed. Sarah, I don't know how anyone didn't notice her, because the boat went to pick them up, and then like Sarah looked like she jumped back in the water, climbed up, got the advantage, and then got on the, like, I would have been like, Sarah, what are you doing? What? Like, so
where was everyone that they didn't see that?
Yeah, it made no sense. But what's your take on Michaela? How do you see this playing out? Someone who, once again, just put it out there, if you're a new viewer, Kara has never seen this season, so this is her first time seeing it.
Yeah, it was like kind of obvious the advantage, where I feel like it probably would have been difficult to take it, especially because she was being so loud. So if she like randomly stopped talking for a while, people probably would have been like, what's happening? But I feel like there's a way that she could have done it. She could have just snuck it away. And I think it would have been a great advantage for her to have, especially because people are saying how they're annoyed by her. So she's going to probably come up as a target at some point where they're just going to want to get her out. And it would have been a good time to have it for this one, too. If she was a target, it could have turned things around. Like, they wouldn't have needed anyone to flip from the other side, you know?
It would have been an incredible, like, opportunity to use it. Like, if they needed it, that would have been all they needed. Like, Zeke, Andrea, Suri, that group. Yeah. All they would have needed is that steal a vote. We also had, we talked about how this season has kind of been, what's the word I want to use? Lackluster a little bit, but has been full of like huge memorable moments. And that continues here. Like, this season has so many classic Survivor moments. And I'm just sitting here and I'm thinking, how is this season like a instant replay extravaganza of Survivor moments, but isn't that great? Like, in terms of editing and stuff like that. And the moment that we get here that I'm alluding to is Suri overcoming the beam, which has become anonymous I use the right
synonymous.
Word. I do not have my words tonight. I am not. Someone get me a dictionary.
I'm here for you, Randy.
Here's the dictionary.
I do not have my
dictionary with feet
capabilities tonight. You know, just like a pitcher in baseball or something. Some nights you just don't have it. But what I'm saying is,
what saying is that, Randy? That's not a saying, bro.
Did you just make that up?
Yeah.
Was it okay? Was it
that's a classic saying, bro. My grandfather said baseball.
Are you making me sound old now? Okay.
No, I'm just saying no one has ever said like a pitcher in baseball. I just don't have it.
Like a pitch. Okay. Well, one, Kara, you're a baseball fan. I see. I kind of like, yeah, you go see Mets. Like, we know, like, if the phrase makes sense. Like, sometimes pitchers just give up 5 home runs in a night. And sometimes Randy just can't use the right words. And he needs.
Randy kind of ate with that one. Ate and left no crumbs.
Hey, Randy, you know the saying, a watched clock never boils?
Never heard of it.
That's good because you don't boil a clock. It's an old saying from Will West.
But yeah. I'm all flabbergasted now. Suri overcomes the beam. This becomes known as like one of the biggest moments of like achieving something that you didn't think was possible. Everyone's kind of coaching her through it. I got a hot take about this too, guys. I'm on one tonight. This, while emotional and while a beautiful moment, and I'm taking nothing away from Suri, kind of felt a little TV forced.
Yes.
Because Jeff was like, kind of stopped focusing on the challenge. He was like, Suri. Like, Suri didn't even say anything. She was just like, okay, challenge. We've seen it before where someone loses a challenge. Debbie a couple episodes ago when she couldn't get over the thing.
She got over that balance beam in 30 seconds, man.
And yeah, Debbie couldn't get over the balance beam. And we see Jeff Probst after the challenge not say a word and be like, kind of attack her, be like, Debbie, you couldn't get over the beam and stuff. Or he didn't, but other people did. Why didn't Jeff Probst say then, hey, let's redo this. You can do this, Debbie. Instead, we get it here where he goes, you can do this, Suri. I think Jeff Probst, Suri, has always been known as the woman who got off the couch.
Yeah.
Wonderful job. I'm not taking anything away from CBS or Jeff Probst. This is why Jeff Probst is a legend and has the job he does, because he saw that and he's like, this is a TV opportunity. This is going to be gold. We're getting Suri over this balance beam. Because I don't even think Suri is at fault for losing the challenge. Because Zeke, from what I could tell, was on the balance beam just as long as Suri was and was struggling just as much. So, Kara, what did you think? Did you know about this moment beforehand? But this was your first time watching it? Like, how did this play out for you?
Yeah, I've heard about this moment before, but this is my first time actually watching it. And it was a good moment. I enjoyed seeing it. Like, it was emotional. I started tearing up a little bit. I don't know. It was like a nice moment, but I do agree that it was like a TV moment, you know, like it was kind of unnecessary. It didn't really need to happen, but it was a nice moment. I'm sure Suri felt like very fulfilled after that, you know, and seeing everyone like support her. It was a nice moment.
It was like no taking away, but Will, we just didn't see this back in Survivor 46. Like we didn't see Jeff stop and say, yeah, you know, Yanu tribe, you can do this. Come on.
No, he was savage to them.
Dude. You can still find the idol, man. Go back and look. No, I think it makes sense because Suri has always been kind of like an underdog because even back her first episode, first season, you know, she was kind of seen as a weak link and had to integrate herself socially. And so it kind of goes full circle of like, you know, she never gave up, not when she was the first, like pegged to be the first one voted out of Survivor 12. My only thing with this is that if I was ever struggling on a challenge, I would not ever want it to be a big TV moment. Because you ever like struggle with something and you're like, you know, you could do it. You know, it's not like a big struggle, but you just are unable to do it. And then someone makes a big deal about it and they're like, no, you can do it. And it's like this big blown up thing. It's like, oh, I didn't want all eyes on me. You know, like if I was Suri, I'd be pissed. I'd be like, Jeff, I cut the cameras, bro.
That's a good point.
It was
like, a lot of attention was drawn to her.
Yeah,
like I said, for no reason, it wasn't even her fault that they lost the challenge. Like they were way behind before Suri even got to the balance beam.
I just thought the other group was just good. They had stronger people on there, you know, like that's just kind of how it was, you know.
Well, that group gets to go on reward. That group, if I remember correctly, was Aubrey, Brad, Sierra, Andrea, and Troy. Not Troy's name.
No, I
Troy's
think it was
name.
just the
Sierra,
4.
Debbie, Brad, Aubrey, Andrea.
Oh yeah,
Debbie. That's the one. How could I forget Debbie? Ain't
Debbie.
nobody worried about
Everyone's
Debbie.
worried about Debbie.
There's a couple things that happen here. Andrea is asked about why her and Zeke are having this like quarrel, which I was also wondering that a few weeks ago when we watched that merge episode. It kind of came out of nowhere. Like the first half of the episode, they were laughing and loving each other. Second half, they were like, I hate you, and like attacking one another. Andrea basically just says it's because Zeke turned on her out of nowhere, which is welcome to the game of Survivor. And then we have Sari back at camp is saying that Brad and Sierra are running the game and she's trying to flip Sarah. And I'll show this comment really quick. Oh no, Debbie is the mastermind. Just ask her. Oh, I would love to get Debbie on the show. Absolutely would love to get Debbie. But Will, this is a smart play from Sari to go to Sarah. I mean, you and Kara said you feel like Sarah's on the bottom. Sarah's a very rational player. Sarah has been very clear about how she wants to play this season. Good play from Sari. And if you're going to send anybody in the minority to try to flip someone, Sari's one of the best people to do it. She's proven that she can talk anyone into working with her. What do you think of this play from Sari?
It's just a masterclass. I think Sari is one of the best players to ever play for a reason. And I think this is just a small glimpse of the power, how she is socially, because she's not threatening Sarah, but she makes a lot of points. Sarah's like, if I go to the end with Brad and Sierra, do I have a shot? And Sari said, no, you're not going to be viewed favorably. You're going to be seen as a goat. But the way Sari said it, it was very natural. It was not forced, and it felt honest. Regardless if that was true or not, I was like, I agree with Sari. Like, if Sarah goes to the end with Brad and Sierra, doesn't matter how the game pans out. You know, Sari made a lot of good points, and I think it was better than I feel like if Zeke tried doing that, Zeke would fail because Zeke is very game focused. I feel like Zeke would be the one going, Sarah, if you go to the end with them, you will lose. Like, that's how Survivor is. Sari, she made Sarah ask the questions, and Sari gave the answers. You know, like, I feel like it was a different
Sarah thinking. Yeah,
it got Sarah thinking, and I think that it's a lot of subtlety there. But I think it's just a glimpse to the powerhouse Sari was.
I mean, Kara, this is remind me again. This is your first time seeing Sari play, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
And she's starting to come into her own after a slow start. We didn't see much of her. What is your take on Sari, your honest take on Sari so far after this episode and what you've seen so far?
Yeah, I think she's great. Like, I really feel like she's showing like a social game is enough, you know? You just need like a social game can get you to the end, can get you to win, you know? Like, you don't need the challenges, like whatever. And like we saw like the way Sari approached Sarah versus how Debbie and Aubrey had their conversation. It was like two completely different things, like way different vibes.
Yeah, you could definitely tell one of them's the best social players of all time, and the other one's still working on. So, yeah, it's definitely Debbie. I was even being nice with Debbie. I was like, she's still working on her social game a little bit. You just don't make her piss. We found that out this season. Will, there's not much to say about the immunity challenge, which happens next in this episode, but I wanted to turn the floor over to you because this gives you a moment to glaze one of your favorite Survivor players ever, because it wasn't even really close. Andrea drops, then we see like Brad drop, and like at this point, everyone's just cheering on Troy's end. It's a Survivor Classic. It's where you have to spell immunity. I was Ty in this moment. I suck at spelling. And every time I see this, I'm just like, I would get to the end and realize that I forgot like an M or something.
Oh, yeah.
And so I felt for Ty, but your boy Troyzan wins his first individual immunity of the season. This had to feel good watching this back. You love Troyzan.
Oh, yeah. Okay, Troyzan's not my like absolute top 5 favorite contestants, Randy, but I get what you're putting down.
Maybe I'm over exaggerating it. It's like when a baseball pitcher goes into a game. No,
it's like bottom of the ninth. You hit that home run.
You got that closer in, yeah.
Adley Rutschman, gets that grand salami at the very end, bro.
Wow, the Adley Rutschman. I didn't know we had a baseball guy over here. Okay.
I can name you some Oriole players. Shout out to my boy Austin Hayes as well. So I think the whole motif for this episode, if you will, is I feel like it's about doing what you think you can't do, because we have like Troyzan remarks about how he didn't think he could really win the challenge. He's kind of doubting himself, and how the immunity win is kind of a new sheen of confidence for Troyzan, and that's something that Sari kind of touched upon during the reward challenge, and it's kind of like a small theme for this episode. Maybe it pans out for the rest of the season, maybe it doesn't. But no, I'm always happy whenever my favorites win an award or win an immunity or just do good in the game. Because Troyzan's also a very quiet figure. He was pretty quiet in One World until the very end when he was calling out Kim, and he's been pretty quiet, this episode, in this whole season. So I'm kind of glad he's just hanging out.
I mean, it was a very interesting episode for Troyzan. Not only does he win immunity, but his pants kept falling down the entire time. And Jeff's like, look what sorry. I kind of laughed at that scene just because Jeff was so serious about it. Like, he's like, you can see what not eating does to the body and stuff like that. And I just couldn't stop envisioning his pants, like, middle of the challenge, just keep falling down. And like, I'd be like, Troyzan, come on, pull those babies up. Kara, was this an important win for Troyzan? Did it matter at all in terms of like who the tribe was going to target, or was just this kind of just a great job, doesn't really mean anything type win?
Yeah, I don't think it was that like important for him to win it, but like I was so happy that he did win. Like he just seems like such an wholesome guy that I was rooting for him. Like I was like, I hope Andrea drops. Like I want Troyzan to get this. So I was happy that he won. And confidence booster for him.
You better be careful, Kara. You already have made enemies with Sandra. Now you're gonna make enemies.
No beef with Andrea. But I just thought it would have been. Not that I wanted Andrea to like be the target and go home, but I thought it'd be more entertaining of an episode if she didn't win.
Yeah. No, I feel that. We got a couple comments here. Andrew's in the chat. Somehow through 3 dominant seasons, even Heroes versus Villains, Game Changers may actually be Sari's most dominant game. And like I said, and like Kara said, social game above all, and Sari is the proof in that. Very exciting to see what ends up happening with Sari this season.
Oh, yeah. It's interesting. I'm not hinting at anything.
What does this mean?
It's interesting, though, how I feel like this season we've kind of seen some really aggressive gameplay from players we wouldn't expect it from. Like, I've gone on record all the time to say Sandra's played more active in her 16 days of Game Changers than she did throughout the entirety of HEV. Not discrediting her win, but like I feel like we saw more oomph of Sandra as a player from the season, and we're kind of seeing that from Sari as well. Because I feel like, I don't want to spoil Panama or Micronesia, but like Sari just kind of finds herself in a nice alliance and she always finds herself in the core. I feel like she's not really in a core this season.
No, she's kind of playing her own game, trying to like
kind of floating.
I mean, yeah, exactly. And she's doing a great job at that. She's she's great at adapting, and she's gotten to the point that she doesn't have that core group like you mentioned. So she's like, I just got to do whatever it takes to survive. If you're willing to work with me, cool. And she's still working people. Like we saw the conversation with Sarah. After Troyzan wins immunity. Okay, did I miss something? I'll go to Kara first. Did I miss something? Or was there really no path for how we got from Michaela or Andrea to Debbie going home? Did I miss something?
That's a good point. I don't know. Well, I feel like the whole scene with like Debbie talking to Aubrey, that was like the turning point for Debbie. I think that was the end for her.
When she also pulls, or she told Aubrey to vote Michaela. and she said Aubrey kind of ruined my game last season. These are the notes that I put down. I put down it's Michaela or Andrea, because this is a conversation right off the bat. And actually, before I get to the rest of my notes, I wanted to get your guys' opinions on this. Everyone wants to vote Michaela out of the game. She's stinking up the joint. She's got a terrible attitude, and we're just sick of her. Although Brad says, no, hold on. She's not going to do anything. She's just taking up a spot on our bed. Andrea, on the other hand, is deceitful. She can kind of navigate her way. She can flip some people onto their side. We should be targeting her. Michaela can get sent home whenever we want Michaela to get sent home. Which side would you be on here? Like if someone was just driving everybody nuts versus someone who you think could turn people from your alliance. Kara, who are you going with?
I think it makes more sense to go for a bigger player over Michaela, who everyone's like annoyed by. But also, like, what really has Andrea done so far that she's getting so much heat to be the person to go? So I feel like there's other people that they could be targeting.
Kara, have you ever seen Redemption Island or Kara Moen?
No. Okay, so maybe she is a bigger threat than...
No, I mean, it kind of... There's a big conversation with Andrea in particular, because she's just one of those weird players who never really does anything particularly well. She's just kind of good at every aspect of Survivor. Like, she's always doing decent strategically, socially, and physically.
And she's always under-edited, from what I remember.
Always under-edited. Always just seeing the worst of people in Survivor, too, between meltdowns and arguments and Jeff Varner. Not spoiling Kara Moen or Redemption Island. But
Brandon Hance,
Brandon Hance, Philip Shepard. So she's always just a target. And I think that context kind of helps explain why she would be a target this season. Going to the question at hand, I promise I'm not a politician. I'm not avoiding these questions. Cough, cough. I think I would try to side with Michaela. I think, honestly, Randy, I'm surprised you're not up here saying, oh, why don't you go to the people on the bottom and try to work with them?
Wow, someone's listening.
I feel like that's a very Randy answer.
I'd always said, why would you vote someone off who has no home? But
exactly,
Michaela.
That's the both of them.
Yeah, true. That is both of them. But Michaela just seems like she's going to do more harm to my game than good.
But I feel like because everyone's aware of that, no one's putting in Michaela's stock.
I could get Michaela for one vote. I could be like, girl, you don't have anyone. I'm here. I want to keep you in the game. I like you. We vibe. And I would get her for one vote. And then the very next vote, I would pitch a name that she didn't like. Like, I'd be like, now's a good time to get Suri out. And she would just explode. And I'd be like, okay. You know, and then she wouldn't be on my side.
Yeah. Well, she's never going to go with the Brad and Sierra. She's always going to be with the other people on the other side. Why would she go with them?
Are you talking? I'm talking Michaela.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, good point.
Well, here's the thing too. It's like I'd rather let Michaela slip through the cracks than Andrea, because it's like that's the problem you run whenever you side with the people on the bottom. Is that what if they slip through? What if you let them escape one vote, and then next thing you know they're at the final two?
I mean, Michaela's also at this point a wonderful person to take to the final two, final three, whatever it is. Like, no one's going to vote for her, so why not take her?
I don't know about that. I feel like a good speech from Michaela would do a lot more than I think you would realize.
You think we're going to get a good speech from Michaela?
I think so. I think because I think she would understand where she's getting viewed. She'd be like, hey, people think I'm going to be a hothead. I'm gonna be cool, calm, collected.
One person would say, why do you deserve that spot? And she'd be like, all right, hold my earrings. I'll tell you why I deserve it.
I don't think that's true.
She's self-aware. Like, I think she knows what people think of her. Like, even we see at like Tribal, like she's taking out food, like she's eating, like she's feeding into it.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys are hyping her up way more than I give her credit. I'm
going to get a list. I'm going to list 50 Survivor players taking personality outside of that taken anything they've done outside of the game, I guarantee you I can get 50 Survivor players that have played a worse game on paper than Michaela.
All right, we'll see.
I can do 100. I'm not kidding.
Let's see. Andrew adds in, this makes me feel a little bit better. He said, you didn't miss anything. Game Changers is notoriously edited weirdly from the Debbie vote until Final 5. The votes just don't make sense from a viewing aspect. That's kind of what I've been feeling all season. I feel like the editing this season has been really poor. And then he also adds in, I think Michaela is a great speaker and put in the right situation could absolutely talk people into voting for her. She's a great mind for the game. I guess this will just live on as my hot take moving forward, that I just don't think Michaela has a great mind for the game at all. I think she has no self-awareness. She's very hot-headed and doesn't work for Survivor.
That's crazy.
I know, but I think
she's Michaela, so self-aware.
All love Michaela. Did she do the challenge? She did the challenge, right?
Yeah. She played
I'm sure she did wonderful in that. She's a beast.
The challenge, the TV show.
Yeah.
I thought it was clear she did not do the challenge this episode.
I know. What? Yeah.
No, she's
been on the challenge a few times.
We love a powerful woman. I just don't think the social game is there. Don't hate me. I also put in my notes, Sarah realizes she's at the bottom of the pecking order. Zeke wants to attack the 6, but he needs Andrea, which creates this very interesting dynamic of like, I've pissed Andrea off. Now I need her to make this move happen. We see the final 3 that we talked about earlier, and it comes down that Sarah is the key to this vote. And Will, this is good to see Sarah in this position, because honestly, this is like the first time we've seen Sarah all season almost.
Yeah. It's kind of a callback to Cagayan, right? Because I feel like her problem last season or her last outing was that she was in the middle. She got very cocky and she played her cards in the worst way possible, which caused another person in her original lines to flip. And that was her undoing. And so it's interesting seeing her, however many years later, in a very similar position and how she's able to capitalize off of that and make an actual move. I think honestly, as much as I don't like the edit of Game Changers, I think when you read between the lines like that, you kind of see Sarah go, full circle. You see an actual character arc, an actual development. And so I was very happy to see, Sarah not just more alive in the edit, but also more aware as a player. And she's just coming into her own.
She's somehow but she has adjusted very well. And we don't see this a lot of times with returning players. We see them be like, oh, I want to play differently. And they play the exact same. She has been playing entirely differently than she did our first season. And you've been able to see her kind of grow into her own. One of the best to do it, depending on what side of the spectrum you're on there. I did want to reply to this. Andrew said that's a wild take. Michaela's voted into Millennials versus Gen X because Will Wall and Jay are threatened by her. I don't think Will Wall and Jay are that good of players either. I'm not going to
they're pretty bad, but that's why
I'm just attacking everybody tonight. I came in swinging.
I know. No, but Randy, the reason why people diss Will Wall and Jay is because voting on Michaela made legitimately no sense.
It makes sense to me now. I get it.
In the stand.
You didn't even watch X. You don't even know why.
I did watch Millennials versus Gen X. I got to go back and rewatch
it. I'll tell you about it.
We got to get Michaela on the show. I'm gonna hit her.
Have a debate with her. No, she can join Stock Watch with me.
Somehow, after all of this. This has been a fun podcast today. We get to tribal council. We obviously talked about the 6 is the big talking point, whether someone can make the move. Michaela's just sitting back there eating popcorn, as Kara stated earlier, just kind of enjoying. Where'd she get popcorn from?
Is that what she was eating? I couldn't tell.
It looked like popcorn.
I don't know. She's feeding into it. She knows that they don't like that she's eating the food at camp, so she's bringing it to tribal and eating it in front of them.
But is that a smart play when you want people to work with you?
Is it fun?
It doesn't matter. They're not going to work with her anyway.
That's fair.
So
You're saying she's giving up at
well.
this point. Yeah.
No, she's not giving up.
Well, she said several times that, like, look, these people aren't wanting to work with me, so I'm just going to sit here and watch and do what I got to do. Somehow through all of this, Debbie is eliminated, gets a very loud applause from Michaela sitting right behind her. I thought Debbie was going to snap or something. She seemed, we've seen it before. She should have turned around and been like, and I'm pissed. But she handled it very well. And the votes for Debbie were Michaela, Andrea, Suri, Aubrey, Zeke, and Sarah, who said she was going to decide at Tribal Council, did end up flipping. And we see next week how Brad is like, oh, that group of 6 now thinks they're running this game or whatever. Well, we'll see. And we'll have to wait and see what actually ends up happening next week. But were you guys shocked by this? I'll go to Kara first, because obviously she hasn't seen this season. Were you shocked Debbie was the one going home today?
Not really.
Ooh.
And I also wasn't shocked that Sarah flipped.
Yeah, you were you saw it coming.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it was kind of random that it was Debbie, but like also, I don't know. I feel like it made sense. I wasn't like, oh my god, Debbie. I don't know.
No one's worried about Debbie.
No one's worried about Debbie.
Well, I mean, right move, wrong move here?
I think it was the right move. I think Debbie was just always a wild card. She's just always a loyal player. So unless you're Brad, voting out Debbie will make sense at some point in the season. Sorry, I sneezed. It was kind of weird how it happened this episode. In terms of like if this episode was like one big story. But when you're looking at it throughout the season and what's been happening, I think it just makes sense.
I gotta show this comment right here. I won't say what I mean, but Brad, Debbie, and Sierra were never gonna work with Michaela. Y'all know why. Good riddance to Debbie. Yeah, rest in peace, Debbie. So many iconic moments. So I mean, we're down to the final 10 now. Here is, and let's see if I can do this from memory. You guys know my memory is awful, but Will, Kara, this is where we're at. Troyzan has an idol. Ty has 2 idols. Sierra has the legacy advantage. Mm-hmm. Sarah still has a steal a vote. And I think that's everything in play at the moment. Did I miss anything?
I think that's it.
Yeah.
So we're getting to the point. 10 people left. There's 3 idols in play. There's multiple advantages. Stuff's about to get messy. And if you know, you know. I'm not going to say anything else other than that. Kara, now that we're back in the swing of things, because we missed a week, are you enjoying this season? Is it kind of okay? How does it compare to the other seasons you've seen so far? Just to get kind of a halfway report.
This episode was much better than like the last episode and probably even the one before that. This one I feel like was much better compared. So I'm excited now knowing that things are going to get crazy.
Oh, I can't wait. I am so excited. Will, at this point, your unbiased opinion, you know how, or unbiased, but the wrong word again. But anyways, your opinion, even though you see how the season plays out at this point, how do you see this season so far? Is it just kind of like run of the mill, slow? How do you see it?
I don't know. I view this season kind of negatively still, because I think the pre-merge, a lot of my favorites went out early. I'm still sad about Malcolm going, guys. I'm going to be so honest. Mm-hmm. And I don't think I can ever get over that. I feel like the problem is just there's a lot of fluff this season, and especially so far. Like the Ozzy boot doesn't really make a lot of sense. And a lot of the editing is just kind of strange. But I do think there are a lot of big moments. I think this episode had some Debbie, a lot of her big moments, part of her Survivor career happened in this season. And so I feel like if you're going into the season expecting trash, you will find treasure. But I think it's just it's a victim of it being called a game changer season and casting like half the cast being not game changers. What about you, Randy? What do you think?
I've said it several times. It's a season that so far where we're at, it's a season that is hurt by poor editing. I think this is one of the worst edited seasons I've seen so far. It's hurt by poor editing. It's got big characters, but kind of lackluster gameplay so far. But it's got such legendary moments, and we're not done with them. Like every episode, I'm like, oh, this is a Survivor Classic. Oh, this is a Survivor Classic moment. So like it's weird, and I'm very excited to see at the end of the season. I was gonna have us give it like a grade. I haven't decided if we're gonna do like A+ to F, whatever, or if we're going to do like 1 to 10, like that type of thing. It's going to be interesting to see where the season ends up, like what its grade ends up being. But I don't want to scare Kara, but I will show this. He says nervously awaits the finale podcast. Yeah, she doesn't know what ends up happening. And Will and I are trying our best not to look too far ahead and say stuff.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
So we have an exciting season. Quite a bit of episodes left to go. What was this, episode 8? So I think we still got like 6 or 7 episodes to go. We are building up to our coverage of Survivor 47. First off, I want to take a quick second to thank Will and Kara for joining me in this off-season coverage. By the end of, I don't know if it's the same thing now because we skipped a week, but at the time we were only going to get like 1 week off, and now we might not get any week off. So we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. But season 47 is on the horizon. They just put the promo art up. I do not have any information. Like, this isn't confirmed, but I have a good feeling the cast is going to be released next week. I just have something in my gut that tells me next week they're releasing the cast. Have a feeling. So that's going to be coming out soon. I've got a sneak peek of a little bit of fantasy information about our Survivor 47 fantasy contest that will be coming up pretty soon. That announcement will come after they announce the cast. Obviously, we're also working out the prizes and stuff like that. So even if you pause the video and read everything, that's not set in stone. It's just a teaser. We're getting there. And then we've got some exciting stuff planned for you guys. We've got a new member of the podcast, Josh Green. So we're very excited to welcome him on. We've got another new member on the way, maybe a former Survivor International contestant joining the show full time. Very, very excited about that. And we've got a lot of stuff coming out on our Patreon. If you haven't checked out our Patreon, go join our Faithful or Legend member tiers. Some of the podcasts we've done there have just been fun, incredible. We've had a couple Survivor players on as guests. We've had a Deal or No Deal Island player on as a guest. We've been in talks with, I can say this name, Stephanie LaGrossa is looking like she's going to come on the podcast at some point, and we're going to get to chat with her. So, and I don't think I'll find the picture in time. Oh, yeah. Yeah, here it is. This one is way too early. It's going to be backwards. Way too early. Season 47 predictions. That is on the way. Right now, it is scheduled for a Friday release, Patreon exclusive. That time is to be determined. It could always change as well. But thank you guys for watching. Make sure to hit that like button if you enjoyed the video today. Subscribe to the channel. If you're listening on Spotify, leave us a rating. And we will not miss next week, hopefully. We'll be back.
Hopefully. I'm here. No matter what.
We're not missing.